Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 669. Before I get started, I have to say this game really kind of surprised me as I went over it in the postmortem with how pretty it was. I mean, there were some really nice ideas in this game. So not necessarily the moves that were played, but the game itself and the possibilities I thought were really interesting. And also I appreciated all the comments. So let's go. Let's see, I start off with e4. My opponent played e5. And I went knight f3, and now he goes knight f6, the Petrov defense. And, well, let's go on a few more moves. I play the main line here. Knight takes, he goes d6. And then, of course, there's always the crazy Cochrane gambit. You can take that pawn, but I don't do that. I drop the knight back, and then he plays knight takes e4. So this is the first point where I deviate from the main line. You see there's two choices here. d4 is the main line and knight c3 is the move I played. I'm just looking for a line that's not the main line because I'm not an expert, and the main line continues for quite a ways here. Let's go to the main line just to show this. I can't remember all of these moves, and some of them are natural, I guess. Bishop d3 is a pretty natural move. But also at the end of the main line, and certainly black has other ways to play too. The problem is that you don't get very much as white. It's only a really slight edge. Now you can kick in with c4, and he plays knight b4. Funny stuff going on. You have to drop the bishop back, black castles, and you can develop with knight c3. And then bishop to f5 or bishop to e6 can be played here. And it just goes on. And you see that black is successful in activating his pieces. White's got his pieces out too, so I guess it's all okay. But anyway, it's not a position that I particularly like to play. So I was looking for a long time. I mean, I know people who play this. I face this in over-the-board situations as well as in Blitz. So I was looking for an antidote to the Petrov for a while. And so for a while I was playing a early knight c3 right here. Yeah, instead of bishop d3, I thought, why not come out with knight c3 at this point? But the problem with that move is that black pins it immediately, and that's kind of an annoying pin. So I stepped back and I started playing knight c3 right here at move 5. And you'll see if you look at the opening book, knight c3 is an idea. It's the second choice. And but I do something different on the sixth move. So knight takes is the usual reply. Knight f6 could be played as well, and there's probably other moves. But basically the idea is to get, I'm trying to get the Petrov player away from his main line and into a position that I can play on an equal footing, because I'm not going to put the time, I don't play the Petrov myself, so I'm not going to put the time into studying the those main lines and all the side lines and trying to really find the best the best answer against it. I just want to get to a position I can play where I have an equal understanding of what's going on as my opponent. So right here is where I deviate. And the main move by far, in fact, you see the only move in the database is d takes c3. And that's a logical move. It's opening up lines for the bishops. And what white plays for here is queenside castling. So the line continues this way. Bishop b7. Oh, yeah, black's turn. Bishop b7. Say bishop to f4. The bishop comes out either to f4 or to e3. Knight to c6. Queen d2. Bishop e6 and castle queenside. And so that's what white has suffered a little bit of pawn damage here, but and he's missing a center pawn, whereas black has a center pawn, but black is cramped somewhat. His bishops are a bit blocked in, and so top level players are happy to play this way. But I find this position a little bit dry in a way. It's so open that often you get lots of exchanges. And anyway, it's just not a position I think is all that great for me anyway. So what I do is I take with the B pawn, and I check this out with a chess engine. I spent some time researching this, and it's just as good in the engine's evaluation as D takes, and it has the advantage that nobody plays it. Probably because I think in the eyes of most strong players, the d takes move is just a better move. But this is quite playable, and the idea is what you see in the game. Let's see, black develops normally, and you get d4. And so compared to the other position, I'm not going to castle queenside. I'm going to castle kingside. I've got the damaged doubled c-pawn, damaged pawn structure here on the queenside, but I'm used to this kind of thing from playing white against the Nimzo-Indian. I allow this kind of thing often. I allow the Nimzo-Indian, and so I'm used to playing with a doubled c-pawn. It has interesting dynamic possibilities, and I have this, an equal share of the center at least, a little bit more, but black can always play d5 to grab pretty much an equal share of the center. So the main positional ideas I have here are the extra c-pawn I can use to influence the center, and the open b file. And then just in general, I've managed to get into a position which my opponent has no experience with. And so I've had, from this position, I've won some over-the-board games as well as quite a few Blitz games, just because the player who's playing the Petrov, has some line in mind, and I've completely blown that out of the water. Okay, so the game continues. Let's castles. This is all pretty logical. Bishop to d3, a natural square for the bishop. And now this first slight inaccuracy from black. This c6 move was played. It's just a little slow. If black wants to play d5, which is what he plays in the game, he can just play it immediately, and it's a good move here. And I would just continue and play this game. I'm still going to play for c4 here and try and undermine the center and try and make use of my extra c-pawn. Okay, he played c6. I castled, and now he goes d5. I go rook b1. And so, it's basically just like I've got an extra tempo. I got in castling, I got in the rook to an active file. He goes bishop to f6. Taking a look at this diagonal, which I've already evacuated my rook from, but it puts some pressure on the center. It's an interesting idea, maybe to try and slow down the push of the c-pawn. But I go with c4 anyway. I have enough support to hold on to that pawn. And then this somewhat natural-looking move, it develops a piece and defends the center, is actually losing. So this was a place where black just needed to exchange. And after this trade, he could play b5, kick my bishop back, and then develop this bishop. And you can see this is much better than what happened in the game. The bishop is taking a look at the a-pawn. I would probably play something like a4 and try and undermine these pawns. But this backward c-pawn is not a particular problem in this position because it's sheltered along the c-file. So I'm not immediately going to be able to attack it. And he's managed to get his bishops to good squares and get some diagonals for him. So, white is better here. White has more influence in the center and a little bit easier development. This knight is a problem piece for black. But it's not losing. Whereas after bishop e6, black is actually losing. And it's because of the line I play. I take here, he takes back, and I play c4. And that's why I like, one of the things I like about playing with these doubled c-pawns positions is you have an extra c-pawn. You can give one away, and then suddenly there's another one you get to use. Okay, so I had to calculate this sequence. He takes the knight. In order to win a pawn over here, I take the bishop, and he grabs the center pawn, and I grab the b-pawn. And all this is winning for white. The chess engine points out to be a little more accurate to play rook d1 first, try and encourage this c5 move, which will limit the mobility of the bishop, and then come in with the rook. But what I have going for me here is I have active pieces and I have the bishop pair. So it's enough for a winning advantage. Anyway, I played rook takes b7, and right here, this was sort of black's last chance to get this knight out and into the game. He needs to play something like knight a6 here. Bishop to b6, which he played in the game, just trying to trap my rook, is a real blunder. And this is where the fireworks start, and where a lot of people noticed improvements here. And so if you take a minute and pause and think about this position, why is this bishop to b6 move such a big blunder? Well, it has to do with development. It's this knight is still not developed, and it's blocking the rook, so this rook can't go and get into the game. So basically 2 pieces are out of the game, whereas I can quickly develop my bishop along this diagonal, or perhaps even here, and my queen, my other bishop, and my rook are already playing, and there are these beautiful open diagonals looking looking at black's king. So when you see these positions with all these open lines and active pieces, you should be thinking Paul Morphy. You know, what are the great tactics here? How do you take advantage of them? And instead, I was a little bit too worried about saving my rook. Although the move I played, c5 there, was not a bad move. It still keeps a winning advantage. Let's see. Giannis suggested the move bishop to a3 here. And that's a very interesting move. If black blocks with c5, then just dropping the bishop back to b2. This bishop is now blocked in, and I have these monster bishops pointing at the king side in cooperation with the queen, and is totally winning. The chess engine wants to just give up the exchange after bishop to a3, wants to develop the knight and give up the exchange over here, and it thinks that's best play for black. So that was a good idea, bishop a3 right there. But c5 is also a good move. Another alternative is just bishop b2 immediately, is also a winning move here. But c5 is still a winning move. Putting pressure on the bishop, attacking the bishop, and if he takes it, I was thinking really I would just free up a line for my rook to retreat, but that's not really the idea here. So the line from the chess engine here, best play is bishop takes, and then not doing anything about the rook, just leaving it there, and then going bishop b2. And now there's different things black could try, but for example, knight to d7, develop the knight, also try and block out this rook along the 7th rank so I don't have all this pressure. Then all of a sudden there are these sacrifices that start to work. Bishop takes, king takes, queen to f5 check, and this picks up a piece because this is loose over here. Even though I've sacrificed a piece, the king has to move. This goes with the tempo on the queen, and after the queen moves, then I pick up the bishop. So I end up a piece up after that sequence. So so bishop takes c5 actually can't be played. It's not playable. Of course, there's no way to tell if I would have spotted that idea during the game, but it's nice to know it's there. It's one of the things that makes this a pretty game, is all these fun tactics. So he played queen to c8, and there's another point where people started to notice good moves. First of all, what's wrong with my play here is I was just a little bit too focused on saving the knight. I think one reason why I play better in slower games is because I have the time. When I remind myself in the slow games, I have the time to stop and look around and look for other possibilities. And if I had done that, I might have noticed some of these ideas. So Rod noticed that queen h5, threatening mate, is actually an excellent response at this point. In fact, it's the top choice of the engine, and it's really difficult for black to avoid being mated here. So g6 to shut down the mate threat, queen to h6, still leaving the rook hanging over here, and bishop to c7, say, again trying to block out the rook along this diagonal, and bishop to b2. So this is just winning for white once again. So queen to h5 is a good move there. Drew suggested rook takes b8. This is also a good move. It just gets me out of trouble by winning 2 pieces for the rook. Say takes back, and I get both the bishop and the knight. And there's also a winning position for white. But the prettiest move, when I looked at the chess engine's different suggestions, I thought this was the prettiest move. It was bishop to b2, just totally ignoring that the rook is hanging and not even making an immediate threat. Now Rod's move was stronger. I have to say that was definitely the best move. But I thought this was neat because you're just organizing your pieces for an attack, but there's no mate in one threatened here. The nearest mate is a couple of moves away. Yeah, but if the queen takes here, then queen to f5, threatening mate, g6, and queen to f6. And the mate is unstoppable. And now there are other ways to play there, but the general idea is the same. The attack is just too strong, and the chess engine says the best move here is for black to play something like queen e6, not even bothering to take the rook, just leaving it there. And once again, you see we have this great attack going with all of white's pieces contributing except for this one, and black's pieces over here on the queen side not doing very much. Okay, so I saved the rook with rook takes f7. This is also a winning move. And then he played bishop takes c5. So there's one more tactic. No one suggested it, and it exists in this position. So if you want to have one more tactics quiz for this video, what's a good move for white right here? Okay, I'm going to give the answer away here. You can play in this position rook takes g7 check. You can sacrifice the whole rook. He didn't want to take it over on b7. You can force him to take it. And now bishop to b2 with check. And you have a winning attack over here on the king side. So anyway, I just thought that was cool. So tactics all over this game. Let's see. After bishop takes c5, I just went bishop to c4. Taking advantage of this indirect threat to his king. He steps away, and I go bishop b2, lining up against the g7 pawn. So he's forced to trade. And then he brings his queen over to defend, queen f8. And now I played the move rook d1. Actually, this is not, there's a slight inaccuracy. Still winning, though, but there's a better way to play it. But first of all, this idea of Giannis, queen to b7 right here, is also a great move. This rook can't move, and neither can the knight. That's covered by the queen. That's covered by the queen and bishop, and that square is covered by the pawn. So in fact, there's no way to save that poor rook in the corner. So well spotted there. Let's see. And the move I played, rook d1, it has the idea of bringing the rook down to the 7th rank and distracting the 8th rank and distracting the queen away from defense of the g pawn. But he just trades, and I thought the rook would be good on d1 anyway, but it's a little bit slow in that case. So instead of the immediate rook d1, it's much better to play queen takes, bishop takes, and then rook d1, because now this threat of rook down to d8 is a killer threat. That rook to d8 will pin the bishop and also threaten to take it, and it also will pin the knight, and there's no good way to defend the rook in the corner, so the knight pin will be there for a long time, and you have time to pile up on the knight. So this wins a piece one way or another. Black could try and move the b pawn so that after rook d1, the king can come over and defend the bishop. No, he can't even move the g pawn because that's pinned. Yeah, he's just in big trouble here. I guess his best try is to move the bishop out of the way, but that would lead to a mate, wouldn't it? Yeah, he probably has to move the h pawn. So anyway, he's losing material here. And whereas when I play rook to d1 first, then he gets to trade, pulls my bishop away, and now his knight can come out. And that's what I missed, actually. That trade pulled my bishop away from defense. I was still expecting to be able to take the knight. I had a persistence of vision problem, thinking the bishop was still there to take the knight. But, well, this is still a winning endgame. Just the game lasted a little longer than it would have. So rook to d7, he goes rook to f8, king to f1. So it's kind of a slow process, but with the active pieces and the bishop pair and his weak pawns, this is a winning endgame. He tried harassing my knight with his rook. I think he was starting to run short on time too at this point. Rook b7, knight a6. I play f3 just so I can walk away and also so I can move this bishop without having that pressure on the f-pawn. He had coordinated his pieces this way. Let's see, he went knight back to b8, and I just went bishop to c4. Now that I'm free to move the bishop, now this knight no longer has any moves, and he just ran out of time looking for an answer, but there is really no answer to bishop or rook takes on g7. He's going to just fall apart at this point. So a good win and a fun game. Hope you guys liked this video. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.